It's time for the Jay Foreman Postgame Show.
Here's Coy Detmer dropping straight back in the pocket. Rifles a pass. It was tipped. It's picked off by Foreman. He's at the 15, 10, 5. He'll score!
A look to the left, and he kind of telegraphed it all the way. When the ball was tipped, Foreman's in the right spot.
Sponsored by Anderson Ford, Tanner's Bar and Grill, Elway Power Sports of Lincoln, Tavern 180, Vinnie Creekback of State Farm Insurance, and Action Plumbing, Heating, AC, and Electrical.
Here's Valenti dropping back, fires a pass, and it's intercepted by the Huskers at the 25, Jay Foreman. And Foreman takes it down to the 19-yard line of Oklahoma. Another big play by the Black Shirts.
On 93.7 The Ticket and theticketfm.com.
13-10 Iowa. An all too familiar score in this rivalry. Austin Norman filling in for Nick Sainer. But as always, we got the Husker Hall of Famer, number 56, number 44. Jay Foreman in here. Well, Jay, again.
Yeah,
Again.
I mean, it was it's a game Nebraska, obviously. I mean, this is unbiased opinion. Nebraska, obviously, I felt like was the better team. But ultimately, the thing that matters is what's on the scoreboard. And, they didn't do enough at certain times. When you play against whether you look at, we saw it earlier with Mississippi and Mississippi State or Georgia Tech and Georgia. There's like 3 or 4 plays that really decide the game. Mm-hmm. And you can go back to a few plays. I like to call it cause and effect of what leads to your demise or your rise. And really, when you think about it, I mean, the defense had played lights out all game long, and here you are on a 3rd and medium, and they run a little swing pass, and you miss 5 tackles, and he ends up scoring from 60 or 70 yards to tie the game up. And then, the last strip sack or strip and forced fumble recovery for Iowa is more or less some of the demons that we didn't exercise earlier in the game. We got lucky a little bit when they stripped us on a sack, and it can't bounce right back to us. And so it's ball security, pocket awareness, it's all that. And you don't go up to Iowa City. It doesn't matter what the temperature is, when the game is, whether it's early the season, middle of the season, or end of the season, and not think it's going to come down to the last couple series. And that's the way it's always been. I mean, it came down to the last couple series last year. It came down to the last play this year. When we were able to beat them a couple years ago, it came down to us holding serve on a, last ditch effort for Iowa to continue along the drive, and we were able to make some plays. And so it's more of the same. But I think coming away from this game, you would probably feel as a player, we let that one slip away, and it's hard to deal with. It's and it's a little bit easier because I guess you got the bowl game. But ultimately, you want to beat Iowa because they deserve to get beat. And you never want to let – it's kind of like that a-hole cousin that you're better than every sport, but then he makes a shot and banks it in from like the corner 3 to beat you because you were up by 2 and you let him score 1, and then he hits a bank 3 to win. Yeah, so, I mean – it was a good game, good hard-fought game. Defense played well enough to win. It's hard for me to say it because I feel very I guess I'm disappointed that you I was like when you play in these games, and the only reason I know this is because when you play against when I played many moons ago, you play against a Kansas State, you play against Missouri, you play against Colorado, you play against Oklahoma. You you cannot take a playoff. And I felt like that touchdown by Caleb Johnson was, you let your guard down. Mm-hmm. And
taking a playoff is also the drop by Isaiah Nair. Nebraska would have been in major business there.
And that's after that right there. Right. Mm-hmm. And so those are the little details that separate you from being top 35 or 40. I'm sure that's where Nebraska's at, right?
Borderline. Mm-hmm.
So just say top 42 and top 22, top 18. Mm-hmm. Those are the little 2, 3, 4 plays that we can dive into. And it's hard to, look, you got a freshman quarterback. I felt like the offensive line played really well, good enough to win. Felt like the special teams could have played a little bit better, right?
Mm-hmm.
Right.
The bad snap that led to the missed field goal, and then the punt shouldn't have gone that poorly, right?
Well,
but you can't blame Vincent Shavers for getting his hand on the ball
because
it looked like two different guys touched it.
Right.
That's a kid trying to make a play that doesn't know anything. You can even maybe go back to the end of the first half, Jay, where it sort of looks like Iowa touched that ball outside of the end zone, then jumped on it in the end zone.
That's a matter. That's a matter of literally. Well, that's a matter of literally what you called on the field versus what you didn't call. Because if you called it that they were in the end zone, so it should have been a touchback, then it would have been a touchback. And so, these rivalry games or two teams that are, I always call them when you play like teams, or I don't really. It's hard for me to say I was a like team. I just felt like they just know how to play football, close games. So they make you play the way they want to play. So it brings you down a little bit. It comes down to these like little intricacy plays, and we just didn't make enough. And it sucks to lose on a walk off. I mean, the only thing I could say is a positive, or one of the things I could say is a positive, because I think there was some, is that I felt like they showed up to compete to win after becoming bowl eligible. I guess the only thing that I was worried about is they become bowl eligible and you're like,
we made it.
We made it. Go through the motions. I don't think it was there. I just felt like you get caught up in the game. You take 1 or 2 plays off. You miss 3, 4, 5 tackles in a play like that. That's something that's going to drive you for to the bowl game. But you got to give credit to Caleb Johnson. He made a play when normally you might not make a play. I've been on a team where Tommy Frazier made an iconic play, and that's kind of what he did. And he's had a great year. He's a great player, and we didn't make the one play that maybe would have changed the game, and they made the play that kind of evened the game, and they're able to hit a walk-off field goal, not once but twice. I do think Matt Rhule is right in to think of that's a delay in game, because if you go back and watch, he told the ref beforehand he's calling the timeout.
And he wants it before the snap goes off, so the guy can't go through and get the practice kick.
So that's on the refs. And yeah, they'll send a email. So today's Friday. They'll send it Saturday or Sunday. Like Matt Rhule says, and a lot of people on the staff say, I don't need your emails anymore. All I need you to do is ref the game correctly. Now, going back 5 yards, would that have made a difference? Who knows? But I think really what came down to really where this game came down to it was even before half, we didn't take advantage of the opportunities. The missed snap had nothing. That was the reason why we missed the kick.
Not the reason they lost.
Well, it's the reason why we're not in the timeout or in overtime.
Sure.
But those are the things that we didn't do to win the game. So we didn't control the controllables. So if we had a good snap and we missed the kick, that's on us. The fact that we didn't have a even clear enough or like good enough snap to even argue about is on us. And then when we had a chance to really shut the door after they kind of got a lucky, after we answered the bell on defense, the sudden change, we answered the bell on defense. And then we have a 3rd and 6 or 7, 8 maybe swing pass, and we miss 4 or 5 tackles. Okay, it's okay if we give a first down. I guess we give up a touchdown. So really, it's a lot of things that we punch ourselves in the face. But it's the thing that when you're in the locker room right now, there's a lot more positives than negatives, and we just, it sucks when you play against a team like Iowa because
you got to hear about it for another 365 days now.
Yeah, but it's like, it's weird playing against teams like that. It's like they hoodwink you into winning. It's like, oh, we found a way to make some lucky plays to win. And we made enough lucky plays at home. And it's senior night. And you would like to ruin their senior night. All this other stuff that you had literally in your hand, and they were able to come out on the other end. So whether they had a rabbit's foot in their back pocket or, whatever it was just, it wasn't more of the same, but it was, and we just didn't make enough plays to win. And that's probably the most, most angry. That's the most thing that makes me angry.
Iowa's not a 3x3 Rubik's Cube. They're a 2x2 Rubik's Cube.
Right.
They're simple to solve. You know what they're going to do, but sometimes you get still ahead of yourself. You want to trying to go for a speed record and do it. They're almost like Chinese, handcuffs, right? The Chinese finger trap, where it's so simple. It's just a little tube of paper. But the harder and harder you fight, the more you get sucked in, the more you get dragged into their style of game. Let's go ahead and pause 10 quick seconds for station identification. We want your thoughts. 402-464-5685. Also on stream. We'll roll through some of those after we pause for station identification.
This is Lincoln's home for sports talk on the FM dial. Also online at theticketfm.com. On the internet. KNTK FM Firth. 93.7 The Ticket.
Well, Jay, the first comment is fire everyone in typical BS trash. We have a "This is why I hate Iowa." We have a same old. Defense didn't just play hard enough to win. They did everything you could have asked for them except get a pick six. I truly feel for Ty and the other defensive seniors. They deserve so much better. We've been trying to fix those little plays for going on a decade now.
Yeah, I would like to see more out of the offense. We had opportunities. We missed the, skinny post. I call it a bang eight with Jalen Lloyd early. Yep. We missed the big play to Fedoni. Maybe the next series. So those are two in the first half, and then we had the Nair drop. I like the before the Nair egregious drop. I'd like to think in a series before Jamal Banks can catch that tip ball.
Yeah.
So
Barney had that one down inside the 5 through contact.
Right through he should have caught, and then also he had one where I think he didn't have the right route adjustments because Dana Holgorsen got after him. So right there, it's 5 or 6 plays offensively. Even if you make half of those, we're walking off with a 10-point victory. So if it was a 5th, we'd all be drunk. All that stuff. We went over 6 on the, like
Illinois.
It's like Illinois. Look, it'll come down to, for people that are listening, it'll come down to 6 to 8 what if plays. And against Illinois, against UCLA, and against USC, and then again against Iowa, we came away with 0 out of probably 24 what if plays. And if we had a couple of them, it's 2 for 24, 4 for 24. That's not good enough. And it's all things.
But you still might steal an extra win.
It'd be extra 2 wins.
Sure.
So we the things that we can control, catching the ball, hitting the open guy, because you can't say play calling. The play callings are there and all that stuff. We just didn't do it. And then when you're playing against Iowa, here's the example that I give to Iowa. And I'm from Minnesota. We hate everybody from Iowa. We hate people from Iowa.
They send their stink back up north.
Right. I live in Nebraska. I hate people from Iowa. So either way, I hate Iowa, period. Even I almost went there. In Minnesota, like fishing for a muskie is extremely hard. Like I feel like for me, I'm a pretty good fisherman. That means I can go deep sea fishing. I feel confident. I can go down to Florida and fish. I can fish in the bayou down in like New Orleans and down in those areas. I can fish in Minnesota and feel good, like northern pike and all that. Muskie is a very finicky fish. There's no like rhyme or reason how you catch them. But when you get them on the hook, you got to get them on the hook because you want to mount them. It feels like I was our muskie. We had them on the hook. And
you're doing catch and release.
Well, no, it's not catch and release. It was like we had them almost in the net, and somebody didn't catch him in the net, and he broke the rod, and he's off in the abyss.
Even worse.
That's even worse because you had him reeled in, you wore him out, which we did. We won the line of scrimmage on both sides of the ball for the most part, and you gotta expect I was gonna win some, we're gonna lose some, but we won more than we lost, and we had them into the boat. And all you had to do was stick the net in there, and it's like a scoop technique, what you do, and you decided to do your own technique, kind of like what I talk about for Thanksgiving. You put blue cheese in your Thanksgiving or into your macaroni and cheese, and it don't work, and you tried it out before you tried it out beforehand. It didn't work out too well, and we let them off the hook. And that's where and you got to give Iowa credit because they hung in there and did what they had to do. But we have to wear what we didn't do. And, we're 6-6, so we're bowl eligible. So that's a plus. But then you also have to recognize some of your minuses. So it's a hard thing to do. It's a short flight back. You get a little bit of time off until you figure out where you're going in the bowl game. And maybe they know right now and all that stuff. But ultimately, beating Iowa is different than a bowl game. Beating Iowa after you become bowl eligible makes the bowl gift sweeter. It makes wherever you leapfrog Iowa in the bowl game, like what bowl game you get sweeter. It makes it that much better. And it's a game normally that will come down to the last 2 or 3 series, and they were able to get over the hump. And it was a lot of self-inflicted wounds. It was just, Iowa, Kurt Ferentz there thinking like, oh, well, we just hung around. It's Iowa culture. We do whatever. You didn't win the game. We lost the game. I mean, let's be honest.
Yeah.
I mean, when Iowa beats us, I'm going to give them credit. When they don't, I'm going to say we lost the game. We lost the game. Maybe that stings a little bit more. Iowa's the type of team that they feel as good as if they line up and kick your butt as if they got lucky and won. And so, more power to them. They won, we lost, and that's ultimately what matters. But ultimately, the regular season over, we're 6-6. Is it the same 6-6 as if you kind of squeaked out and got in there and backdoored your way in there? And we played Morgan State at the last game of the year versus Iowa. I think there was more progress than not. There's a lot of decisions to be made because of the 105 coming up, or the 105 isn't immediate, but it is around the corner, like late in 2025. But then also there's probably staff decisions you need to make. There's recruiting, kind of like it changes the way you look at recruiting immediately. Like, are you looking for football players? Are you looking for measurables? Are you looking for guys that with the right mindset? I mean, you know what I mean? A lot of things are on the table. And then, as soon as you land here, see, it's 10 o'clock now, maybe 12 o'clock they land. When you wake up at 6 o'clock in the morning, you're immediately on to bowl game 2025, because I think they are literally hand in hand.
And I think immediately you're onto yourself. You don't know who your bowl opponent is. You don't know where you're going. You don't know who you're going to play. So maybe that's part of the benefit here, Jay, is that Nebraska has some time to get back in the lab and work on themselves, to not worry about game plan, to not get into opponent mode necessarily.
Oh, no.
We saw a stat flashed up at, I want to say it was halftime on the TV broadcast. The last time Nebraska held an opponent under 30 yards in the first half was 2021 Michigan State.
Yeah. There's
a lot of parallels there, Jay, right? Think about that 2021 Michigan State team with Kenneth Walker at running back.
Yeah.
Nebraska's defense dominates that game.
I remember that.
What changes the game? Special teams play. There's the punt that went the wrong direction from Pristep, returned all the way for a touchdown. Nebraska didn't give up a return touchdown. A long punt return, a decent kick return, but a special teams play gives Iowa some momentum that they didn't have otherwise. Then the busted play.
Yeah.
It's not the same. This Iowa team's not going to go play for the same, the bowl game and the same stakes that Michigan State was, but similar sort of game script where you hold a star running back down, special teams changes the game, and you end up not being able to move the ball in your final drive.
Yeah, I mean, obviously Matt Rhule and staff weren't here, but it is, reminiscent of what we did before. And when you have here's what people need to understand: when you have a really good running attack, it always keeps you in the game because it's hard for defenses to stay in the fight. And the way that you stop a really good running game is by being willing to do the simple things 100% of the time. And the mindset of kids is not that. And then also Iowa has probably the best offense. They're probably going to win the Joe Moore Award for the 85th time.
Won by recent teams like Oregon, Michigan,
Iowa,
Wisconsin.
Yeah, so so they have one of their best offensive lines of all time, and you have Lachey and
Nebraska really neutralized.
Right, but in the run game, he's very, very effective. And same with Ortega. So they have guys. So they have essentially 7 offensive linemen. As far as you add 2 tight ends in there, and so it's definitely like apples to apples for that. And it comes down to special teams. The first kickoff return, I would have liked to have been, stopped. I would like the third kickoff return have been better. I'd like to think that we could set the edge better on the wide side of the field edge setter against that punt return and not allow them to get 15, 16 yards and they're able to get the 3 points. But that's playing the perfect game. Football is a game of imperfections and how you can minimize those within your game plan and accentuate your positives. We did not do enough when it came to money time. We missed 4 or 5 opening receivers that should have been pitch and catch, right? Perfect play calls, lackluster execution, whether it was by the throw or we mentioned the catches, or then one that was on our side, where Dana Holgerson really got after Barney. And when he probably had a route that he should have won and he needed to win, he didn't win. I don't care if you're a freshman right now. We're 12 weeks into it. There's no excuse. And that's the difference. And when you get into these tight games and you play against a team that's trying to play on senior day and, we're probably better than, we got to make those plays. And we didn't. And defensively, we missed 5 tackles on a simple screen pass. So when you're thinking about, like what you said, going back to working on ourselves, if you run 10 of those plays, all 10 have got to be perfect.
For all 11 players, every time you run.
Every single time. All 10 have to have pursuit to the ball. All 10 have to have the right leverage in order to tackle the ball. All 10 have to finish the play, or all 11 have to finish the play on all 10 of those plays. That's the next step for Nebraska. And you can make that next step. And you got to really taste this. You got to taste this. It's like a Thanksgiving. So it's like a bad taste of like prime rib or something, like a bad part. But the rest of the prime rib could be good, but it's all based on how you season it up. And then if you stick it back in the oven and cook it. So Nebraska has an opportunity to really make some growth from here. The Nebraska has some really opportunity to, get a couple days rest, figure out where you're going, get back to work, because 99% of the guys that are on your roster right now and that don't go in the portal have something to play for. So they have and you ask, what do they have to play for? Present day roster spots, future day roster spots,
of which there are 45 less next year.
Which there are 45 less. And everybody's on scholarship, so it means more when you are part of the 105. And then also you have guys that didn't make your travel roster that also are competed against you. So then therefore, when you show up to whatever bowl game it is, you will be motivated, you will be focused, because every day counts.
Let's run down a few texts here. 402-464-5685. Keep them rolling in on stream as well. We'll bounce back and forth here. Railroader Matt says Nebraska doesn't deserve to go to a bowl game. The team is horrible. There's no positives, Jay. It's garbage. Has been and will continue to be. Doesn't deserve a bowl game. The offense will be better next year after certain players transfer. And again, we don't deserve a bowl game. 5769. Then Nebraska should hire Iowa's offensive line coach. Kevin says Huskers are choking losers. Chris in Omaha, I just don't get it. Nebraska finds new and creative ways to lose to Iowa. We cannot have nice things since they fired Frank Solich. 1453. Could not be more disgusted. I lost all interest the minute 5 tackles were missed on the touchdown runs. Oh, wait, guess we get to go to a bowl game, so that makes it all okay. There's a lot of emotions, Jay.
There's a lot. And listen, I'm right here with you. It doesn't make it okay to miss those 5 tackles.
Losing is not okay. We're not trying to excuse the loss.
No, and I'm not making excuses for them. Listen, they're lucky I'm not the linebacker coach. You know how
their egos are lucky, but their play isn't lucky.
Well, their play would be magnified because they know when we step on the field, we making that play. Because I'm going to meet you at the 30-yard line, or I'm going to meet you at the yard marker based on that play right there, and I'm going to encourage and demand our best 100% of the time. I'm not saying like this is a positive. I do not like to lose. And that's probably that's my biggest positive attribute.
Mm-hmm.
And it is my worst. It is.
Yeah.
I do not like to lose. I want to win at everything. I want to kill you. I don't want to do anything else. I don't want to win easily. I want to destroy you. And I've never been able to turn it off. Maybe that's probably my negative.
But it got you to where you got.
Sure. Right? Was I the best athlete? No. Was I the biggest? No.
You're the most slew-footed, though.
Yeah, that's 100%. Listen, when I played in the elements, that's where I did my best. The slew-footedness was to my advantage. But was I the fastest? No. Was I the quickest? I was probably one of the quickest. I wasn't the strongest. I wasn't the biggest. But let me tell you something. When I stepped on that field, I wanted to kill you. I didn't care what happened to you.
Or you probably.
Or, yes, I mean, to my detriment. And I'm paying for it right now. But ultimately, if I coach, that's what I expect. And that's what I'm demanding. Because I know if I can get the best out of you, we're going to win this game. We'll deal with all the stuff afterwards. And I'm willing to taper off and practice after we win. Because I'm willing to expend all energy to win the game.
And to that point, let's say that you're coaching the linebackers right now, and a guy like John Bullock takes your message to heart.
Right.
You are coaching John Bullock,
right,
who is also coaching Mekhi Bear,
right,
who is also coaching Vincent Shavers,
and who's also coaching Stephen Thompson, who's also coaching
Javen Wright,
and whoever's coming next,
and
Dylan Rogers and all those guys.
And John Bullock wears a single digit.
Right.
So John Bullock feels empowered by his teammates who voted him a single digit.
Yeah.
Has been a game captain. John Bullock takes your coaching, says, you're not playing up to my standard. This is the level I'm playing at. Get here.
Right. And so then, therefore, it's just trickle-down effect because I know how hard he's taking it. And John Bullock, I can roll with because I know when the lights come on, he's giving me everything he got. And
the same dude.
Right. He the same dude, whether we're up by 40 or down by 40.
Mm-hmm.
I can roll with him,
mm-hmm.
but I'm still going to coach him hard. Now I'm going to need everybody else to come up and go with it. And I'm going to tell them so like when I'm jumping your butt in March or February, whenever they kind of get into it, this is what it's for. This is what I'm talking about. Like, I'm not jumping your butt when we're up by 10. I'm jumping your butt because I want to win when it's the most important. And we didn't come through it. But ultimately, they deserve to go a bowl game. They won 6 games. It's not a time to fire the offensive line coach because contrary to your belief, the offensive line played very well against a very, very good defense, and they played well enough to win. We didn't.
Bad miss by Ben Hart.
Right.
At the end.
Okay, that's fine.
They happen.
It happens.
Hold on to the ball.
Right.
Have some pocket presence.
Right. Well, we didn't. We just didn't do that. Because, look, Iowa, listen, they got your boy Yaya Black in the middle. He's going to play on Sundays. They got all 4 of those guys are going to get shot in the NFL. They're a senior late. Jay Higgins is going third to 5th round. He's a legit middle linebacker. Jackson, legit linebacker. This is the best defense they went against all year.
And they put up 350 yards on them.
Right. And they're going to win some plays. And we're going to get beat on some plays. Like Mazuka missed on a play, where he kind of like lunged forward. The guy got around him. And he was able to give it. I think Dylan was able to get it to Emmett and didn't go anywhere. And Emmett made, chicken salad out of chicken boo-boo. That's the way it is when you play against good opponents. Like, don't sit up here and act like the offensive line was going to go to Iowa and just bowl these guys over. That's not how you beat Iowa. You got to beat Iowa by doing the simple things at the most opportune times and make them look magnificent. And we didn't do it enough. So it comes on us. That's what stings the most. And that's where the emotion comes from. The offensive line over the last 2 months, which is 8 weeks, has played more than winning football. So is the defensive line. We needed other guys to play better. We should have scored more points. We should have hit open guys. We should have hit some holes in the run game. We should have caught 3 or 4 or 5 passes that we didn't catch. That has nothing to do with the offensive line. So that's the easy thing. Don't use, low-hanging fruit as 3 years ago we could blame the offensive line. we had the game where we were down in Oklahoma in 2021 or 22, where we had 80 yards of offense and 80 yards of penalty. Them days are over. You got to give Coach Donovan credit, or I call him Coach Donovan, Coach Rhule or whatever, and everybody else. Like, Iowa made a couple plays at the opportune time where we didn't, and that's what stings, because we dominated the most of the game. We did a really good job in the conventional run game against Caleb Johnson. We messed up on a screen pass that I guarantee you every single one of those guys wish they had back. But the hard part of playing against those games, or in these games, you don't get it back. So, yes, it's the same old stuff. Sure. Could we play better on special teams? Correct. I don't know what happened with the snap. That led to like a pulled hook. That's what led to the pull hook at times, or where we were until after Illinois. We were blessed in the first year of Matt Rhule to have Ortiz, who was phenomenal as a long snapper. So we need to get better at that spot. And you know what? I will tell you, when it's butt ass cold like that, snapping the ball or handling the ball is extremely hard. Now, that doesn't make excuse. That's just reality. Iowa was able to do it. We weren't. If we make that field goal, which is definitely makeable within Hull's range, we're, no matter what they do on the walk-off, we're still, well, we wouldn't be still playing, but we're in overtime. And so Nebraska just got to, look, you got to recognize what you did really well. You really got to dive into like the 5 or 6 to 6 to 8 plays that you didn't, which we went over 6 for. We got to remedy that, but you also cannot forget what you did well. And that's the hard thing, because you're living in the moment, and then you got some time off. So whenever they get back to practice, we got to get back to basics and fix ourselves. And then there's also decisions to be made, but that's what you get paid the big money for. You got to make decisions, you got to move forward, and you got to coach and recruit and develop as if all is usual with this 105, I guess, that pretty much got passed what, Tuesday? Like happy happy Thanksgiving.
Final confirmation in March.
Yeah. So in March. And so you got a little bit of leeway, but you also got to make sure, you got to understand that there's some decisions to be made, and you got to be okay with it, and you got to accept it. And then you got to get ready for this bowl game, because the bowl game, plays a big part in this program.
Well, I have one thing to say, then we'll go to break, and a couple more kind of specific comments to address. I think Jay's gotten to a lot of what you guys have said. So everyone that's texted in, thank you. We see it. If I'm not reading it, it's because I think Jay's addressed it already. Vinny Pasquantino, Royals first baseman, was tweeting through the Chiefs-Raiders game today. Said, good teams find ways to win, bad teams find ways to lose. Nobody should be calling this luck about the Chiefs finding a way to win the game. He quote tweeted it and said, let me further explain this. Good teams put a different kind of pressure on teams that are worse than them. Feels like you got to be perfect. It causes you to make mistakes. That's why it isn't luck. I don't know if Iowa's good. They're better than Nebraska in terms of their record, right? They're 2 games better than Nebraska, 8-4 versus 6-6.
Yeah.
I think you could also exchange the word good for the phrase teams with identity, right?
Yes.
Iowa knows what it is. They know what their identity is. They stuck with their identity of Caleb Johnson, right? Not necessarily the same plays they ripped, big gashes in Nebraska for in years past. Their identity was let to cook. They stuck with him even when Nebraska was bottling him up. What did they do? They gave him the ball in a simple swing pass, said go to work. He rewarded their faith. They put pressure on Nebraska to tackle him. They didn't on that one play, and that's all it took because of their other parts of their identity, which is defense and special teams.
Right. I mean, you're 100% right. I mean, it goes down to this in pressure moments. So that pressure moments for people that are listening is pretty much from the middle of the third quarter to the end of the damn game. You think players, not plays. So I prided myself as a player to make plays under those circumstances. That means I got to make that tackle, because I don't ever want to be a part of the reason why we lost the game. And so I would say, listen, you're bottling up Caleb Johnson in the conventional run game. That means hand it off and hand it to him. We're going to get you out there and see if he can break a tackle. So we put the pressure on our All-American to make plays, and he was able to make a play.
The play
of the game. And that was it. That's going to go down in his legacy. That's going to go down in 2024 and in all their season. how they're able to pull through and they can dice it up however they want. And so he was able to make a play against us that we weren't able to make. And so when you come down to it, it comes down to players, not plays. And I think sometimes people can get confused on the difference. And the difference is under money time, or when you think of big games, you want to know somebody's there from first quarter to fourth quarter that are going to make plays. And that's the difference. And yes, he's 100% right. Whether it's baseball, whether it's basketball, whether it's football, whether it's soccer, there's always little things in there that separates teams that have an identity or know how to win. Or better yet, I will tell you this. Iowa is they are really, really okay with like showing up to the pool party after just fishing all day. And they got, fish guts all over them, worms, and dirt. They're fine with showing up to the
wearing
party.
Wearing their waders and everything.
Wearing their waders or overalls and dirty and haven't rinsed off before they go in the pool. That's Iowa. That's Iowa, whether it's the beginning of the year, middle of the year, or end of the year. Mm-hmm. They're going to be who they are. That's the difference. Whereas Nebraska's trying to learn how to play very clean against Wisconsin. And then when you play against Iowa, flip to we got to play dirty. And that's experience from some of our young players. That's inexperience or experience that you can't snap into with some of our older players. But ultimately, I think if we could just make a couple plays, we'll be fine. I think it's a cause and effect, and I'm big into the cause and effect. I'm big into the long punt return that I feel is unnecessary. And I always want to say these things without not giving Iowa the respect of making a couple of plays they need to make, because it takes some cojones to make those plays. Mm-hmm. But I also feel like Nebraska in this game specifically felt like we just let the foot off the gas for like it's like in an Indy 500. And you're kind of in that guess part where you need to hit the gas or you let it off. And the next thing you know, the dude comes from 2 spots back and he overtakes you. Mm-hmm. And then Iowa kind of box you out all the way to the end. And that's really where we're at.
Let's take our first break of the show here. Keep those texts coming in, 402-464-5685. Comments on stream as well. Big thanks to Starter Human Jewelers for sponsoring both of those. We'll be back with more from Husker Hall of Famer Jay Foreman on Postgame Show right after this.
Attention students and anyone else looking for a great deal. Sun Valley Lanes and Games has the ultimate weeknight special. For just $15.95, enjoy unlimited bowling, lucky putt mini golf, and laser tag. Flash your college ID at check-in to receive $2 off your admission. It's the perfect way to unwind Sunday through Thursday nights. Check out sunvalleylanes.com for hours and availability. Sun Valley Lanes and Games, located at 321 Victory Lane.
Lincoln's best place to meet, eat, and compete. Sun Valley.
Me again, why we're sleeping on the ground.
Because we're thramping. Thrift camping. It's saving us money and getting us closer to nature.
But we don't need to thramp. I just combined our home and auto insurance with our State Farm agent, so we have a rate that fits our budget.
Oh, right. Do you think our agent can bring us an air mattress?
Call your local State Farm agent, Vinny Kreekak, at 402-474-1173.
Individual premiums and budgets will vary by customer. All applicants subject to State Farm underwriting requirements.
Hey, Nebraska football fans, it's defensive lineman Ty Robinson, and I've got a winning play for you with Action Plumbing, Heating, AC, and Electrical. Team up with Action and install a new Bradford white water heater in your home. And if we win the conference championship this season, you'll get a full refund. Don't fumble this opportunity. Sack your old water heater this season and score big with Action. Visit actionlincoln.com/Huskers to learn more.
Promotion valid for a limited time. Terms and conditions apply. See website for details.
When you need a new water heater, nothing beats the ProLine family of water heaters from A.O. Smith. ProLine models are built using commercial-grade components, meaning they're built to help you tackle your toughest days. No matter if you need a gas or electric model, A.O. Smith has a ProLine unit for you. A.O. Smith, innovation has a name. Call Bryant at 402-467-1111 for a great deal on a water heater today. Again, that's 402-467-1111.
Tanner's Bar and Grill is the best place in Lincoln for a casual get-together, best place to watch a game, and the best for pre- and post-game. Catch college and NFL football as well as the volleyball action this season at Tanner's Bar and Grill at 30th and Yankee Hill. What's better than wings, cold beer, and a Husker win? Enjoy great food and drink specials every day and tons of TVs to catch all the action. Tanner's Bar and Grill, 30th and Yankee Hill.
At Anderson Ford, we offer a 5-day return or exchange policy, so you can make sure the vehicle you choose is the best vehicle for you. No pressure. Right now, lease a 2024 Ford F-150 for $395 per month. Experience better at Anderson Ford.
Stock number 1003769, $395 per month lease for 36 months with approved credit, 7,500 miles per year, $5,250 to assigning, no security deposit required. Tax, title, and license fees extra. Residency restrictions apply. Program subject to change. Must take new retail delivery from Anderson Auto Group by 11/30/24. See delivery details.
It's game on at Elway Power Sports of Lincoln, Nebraska's premier Kawasaki dealership. Score big on Kawasaki's all-new Ridge lineup. The Ridge XR, the Ridge HVAC, and the Ridge Limited. All built to take on your day with a full factory cab, including heat and AC. Stop by Indian Motorcycle of Lincoln today and rule the streets on an Indian motorcycle with customer cash and trade-in credits up to $2,000 during the month of November. Elway Power Sports of Lincoln at 27th and I-80.
At Jimmy John's, we don't make sandwiches. We make the sandwich of sandwiches. We use fresh veggies because we don't hate salads. We just feel bad for them. We make our sandwiches exactly how you want because you're the one who's eating it. And we bake bread all day, every day because stale bread isn't bread. It's croutons. Sandwich history is written by the victors. Good thing we have legible handwriting. Jimmy John's, the sandwich of sandwiches. Order pickup or delivery on the app.
At Action Plumbing, Heating, AC, and Electrical, we're ready, reliable, and recommended. Water heater acting up or your sump pump on the fritz? Call Action. Summer's around the corner. Is your AC working? Are you sure? Call Action. Electrical problems? I'm telling you, call Action. Call Action for a free same-day estimate or a trusted second opinion. You heard that right, a free same-day estimate. 402-423-6960. ActionLincoln.com.
Jay Foreman Postgame Show. Sponsored by Anderson Ford, Tanner's Bar and Grill, Elway Power Sports of Lincoln, Tavern 180, Vinnie Kreekak of State Farm Insurance, and Action Plumbing, Heating, AC, and Electrical.
Yeah, wasted a great opportunity to get a win. Great defensive effort for most of the day. Opportunities on offense. Very similar to last year and probably years previous, I found a way to lose the game at the end. So unbelievably disappointing. At the half, we really just kind of said three things: make sure we keep tackling number two, win the turnover battle, and don't give up a big play on special teams, because we had some close ones in the first half. All three happened, caused us to lose the game. So, disappointed, kind of probably more than disappointed right now, kind of angry about what just happened. Credit to them. Those guys, they've won a long time. They believe, they make the plays all the way to the very end. And we got to catch them. We got to catch them. And we haven't caught them yet. So in terms of finding a way to finish games. So I feel for our seniors. I know how badly they want to get this done. We didn't get it done. So with that, I'll take your questions.
That's Nebraska head coach Matt Rhule at the podium after Nebraska falls 13-10 to Iowa. Austin Orman, Jay Foreman with you here at 93.7 The Ticket, 1040 O Street in Lincoln. Taking your thoughts, your comments, your questions, your concerns all night long, 402-464-5685. Jay, Nebraska led this game at the half. They were blanking Iowa 10-0. What was maybe more the bigger concern for you? Was it that Nebraska didn't capitalize more in the first half, or that Nebraska didn't slam the door in the second half?
I'll probably say the second half. I mean, that's where you got to really turn it up. I mean, that's where you got to be like, okay, we did a really good job against Caleb Johnson. We're going to shut him out again. We know that they're going to try to find a way to get him the ball, and we need to raise our level of play. And obviously the 72-yard screen pass should never happen. I don't care who the hell it is, but and that's what he's talking about. And then we can't turn the ball over, and it doesn't matter who it is back there. We cannot turn the ball over because Iowa cannot beat us if we don't beat ourselves. And that's essentially what he told us. What he told us. we got a little lucky in the first half with a couple of the coverages and stuff like that. So we need to, crank that up. And then we had the special teams play, which, I can't really be mad at in essentially that, really, to be honest with you, as a returner, this is my feeling. And this has nothing to do with coaching or not. This is just from me playing special teams from what Kevin Williams and JJ Moses and, David Tyree with the Giants and all these guys that I played with, they were like, hey, listen, if I'm ever in a situation to where I don't feel 100% confident that I'm going to catch it, I'm calling it off. Then it's on the offense to at least run 3 plays and punt the damn ball and the defense to stop it. So I would have liked to seen IGC, I think, who was back there, literally just Peter, which means get the heck away from the ball, stop where you are, and see where the ball bounces. It looked like maybe he had touched it because he kind of dove for it. So I have no problem with it. I feel that here's what I feel about that, who it touched first. I feel if you called it that there was Nebraska's ball on the field, I feel like you got 10 referees that would say that's the correct call, because I truly feel that Iowa touched the ball first. I feel that if you kept the same call and you asked 10 referees outside of the game, that they would say Iowa touched it first, it should be Nebraska's ball 6 or more times. That's just my feeling.
Mm-hmm.
It didn't work that way, but then the defense held them to 3. And then we can go to all the other stuff. And so, they made a couple of the plays that Matt Rhule talked about. Everything that Matt Rhule talked about that we needed to do to finish out the game, we didn't do. But ultimately, we had also opportunities on offense to extend the lead. And that's probably the most frustrating. Really, to be honest with you, look at it. Dillon went 22 or 32 for 190 yards. It could have been better than that.
Mm-hmm.
It could have been better.
25 or 26 for 250 at least.
It could have been 26 of 32 for 250. Because the pass to Isaiah Nair goes for at least 25 yards.
If not a house call.
Okay. So I'm saying,
Yeah,
let's just say 30 yards.
Mm-hmm.
We're at 220 then.
Mm-hmm.
And the one that I feel like Banks could have made off the tip, that's 15 yards. So that's
240.
Okay, 245. And then just give one to like Barney and all this other crap and whatever. You're at 250 yards. We win the game, we're out of here.
Mm-hmm.
That's all there is to it. And we're not even talking about the one to Jalen Lloyd. We're not even talking about the Fedoni being wide open, things that we need to hit.
The Harburg one to Barney.
Right.
Any of those.
Right.
We had someone on Facebook comment 2 words, freshman QB.
Yep.
That simple?
Yeah. And this is where people also need to understand. Every game that every game, listen, he's started 12 games. Everything's a learning experience. I've been there. I've been the freshman starting on 1995. Every game that I played was a learning experience. Now, here's where the difference is between Jay Foreman playing on the greatest college football team of all time versus Dylan Raiola playing on a team that's trying to gnaw, scratch, climb to a bowl game. We had Tommy Frazier in the established offense on the other side. We had Christian Peter and a plethora of NFL players on the other on defense. So all I had to do was play a very, 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 very small role in a big way. Where he has to play a very, very big role as an 18, 19-year-old freshman in a humongous way. All because up until this time, or up until Dana Holgorsen got here, that the other guys around him hadn't stepped up to the magnitude to make a game like Iowa easy.
Mm-hmm.
The reason why or how the Iowa game can become a little bit like easier is Nair, Banks, Fedoni. I felt like Emmett stepped up, but just like or the line, everybody had been stepping up for 11 weeks before you get there.
There were some people on Twitter commenting that it looked like Dylan Raiola wasn't seeing the field very well again. Jay, let's not forget. Again, I don't want this to come off as an excuse, right? He's played however many games. He missed some throws, right? We don't need to relitigate that. But Iowa secondary leads the Big Ten in interceptions. They're eighth nationally. They got 16 of them.
he didn't really put the ball in danger. Maybe a couple crazy ones, right? Castro probably could have had one that he didn't come down with, kind of went through his hands. But guess what? Last a couple weeks ago, that went through Malcolm Hartsock's hands for a USC touchdown. Nebraska got it back, just not enough to win the game, right? So he could have that one. The one to Barney that on third down, the ends up a yard short. That was a crazy sort of completion. But this is a complex scheme with incredible defensive backs, even with Jermari Harris out for the game. I'm not surprised that Dylan Raiola didn't look comfortable early, didn't always know where he was going. Phil Parker's a defensive mastermind. He's a defensive genius. So, yes, Dylan Raiola left plays out there. But, Jay, I don't think Dylan Raiola ever looked overwhelmed.
No,
I think the credit to him and even to Dana Holgerson.
Yeah, I think he showed up to compete. He played well. Definitely could have played better. He'd tell you that. I mean, because I think I have high expectations for Dylan as he has for himself. I don't care how old he is. I know how good he is. I don't think he was overwhelmed or like scared or anything. Yeah, I just think he was out there playing football. And, I'm trying to look at him like for perfection. And he's not 18, 19 years old, so he's just fine where he's at. So I mean, without Dylan, we're not where we're at. And so with him, I'm okay with where we're at. Now, I do think there's other things that could have happened, so we could have came out on the other end, and that's fine. But for 18, 19-year-old kid to come in and take the whole program by the bull by the horns, earn the spot, and then find a way to kind of get us where we're going, I'm not going to say, oh, it's all on his shoulders. No, I think other guys should have made more plays, and I think everybody should have made more plays. I'm a firm believer in this defense. I'm a firm believer in Tony White. I'm a firm believer after 12 games, this defense and their players that we have left a lot of meat on the bone, and it has nothing to do with coaching. And I think that they could be better. I'm still thinking, even though we have one more game, they're striving for the perfect or close to perfect game. Today would have been a really, really great day for it. I think they were closer to that game, to getting the perfect game, except for the swing pass. And so there's a lot to like positive to work with, and they should be dejected because that's a game that I feel, and I'm sure Coach Rhule feels, is that they felt like they gave away and gave Iowa a stupid chance to feel like they ride home, like they beat us. Nebraska, we beat ourselves. And there is a difference. Like if we played Oregon and we lost by 25, Oregon kicked our butt. They just bigger, faster, whatever it may be. That's not the case with Iowa. We beat ourselves, and give Iowa credit for this, that where they're able to swim, they swim very calmly in deep water. They keep their head above water and tread water until you make a mistake, and they definitely go along the line of, we're going to wait to see you lose the game before we have to win it. And that's what they did.
We have a couple of comments here on the text line and on the comment section. The first one I saw was from Robert down in Texas. And again, a few other people saying the same thing. Tough game. Nebraska should have run the ball more. Robert says GBR. Some other people say some other things that aren't GBR. 43 carries for 144 yards for Nebraska. If you take out sacks, Nebraska ends up with 39 carries for 165 yards. How do you think Nebraska was in terms of the amount they ran the ball and how effectively they ran it against Iowa today?
Well, I think I'll answer the last part. I think they ran it effectively enough. I would have liked to seen more. I felt like Emmett, Ramir, and obviously Dante were able to I think people look at the running game as like you're supposed to get 4 yards plus every single run play. And I think more times than not, we won in the run game. We left a lot of meat on the bone. I felt like there was a couple play side and backside that we could have hit. I would have liked to see more run plays, but then also, Austin, I'll be frankly with you, where I felt like we left some in the pass game as well. So I mean, I don't think play calling was a factor. I think execution was probably the bigger thing, and execution could be just of okay, we're calling a pass play and I'm dumping it down. We get 2.5, 3 yards of a pass play. That's
Mhm.
fine. Or we don't take a sack, or we don't feel rushed, or we don't just completely miss a guy. Or in the run game where, play side is really, really jammed up and really out of our peripheral, we need to get 3 yards going backside. Those are the things that we just didn't do. But that's the thing of when you playing against Iowa, they make you make the simple plays magnificent over 60 minutes. It doesn't matter if it's offense, defense, or special teams.
Mhm.
That's why they're hard to beat. That's where I would say they're 2 times hard to beat at home. And that's what's made them a consistent program. Whereas that's exactly who they are. That's exactly how they coach. That's exactly how they practice. That's exactly how they play. And so once you realize that, you got to be portable and change your whole identity once you show up in Iowa City, or if they come to Lincoln and play us, because that's just who they are and what they do. But ultimately, not going to get up here and say that we didn't do enough positives to win. And that's probably the most frustrating part. And you know what? The good thing is, if they're frustrated,
Mhm.
and Nebraska's going to go to a bowl game at 6-6 and have guys definitely motivated. I'd like, hopefully all the guys that are seniors are going to be there to play. And there's some that are really, get high draft grades. Then, I understand that as well. Look, every senior on this team, I can't say that they had other things to do, but they stuck it out and they found a way to backdoor their way, or at least earn their way into being bowl eligible. So for
Mhm.
that alone, and going through 3 coaching changes and multiple changes, like, whether it's athletic department and all that stuff, I commend them for it. But if they've earned a way to potentially be a 1 through 3, I understand it. Majority of them aren't. And majority of them are going to be able to practice and strap it up one more time for Nebraska. Majority of the guys on the roster are going to be competing, practicing, finishing out finals and all that stuff for a future roster spot coming, next August, where you have to be down to 105. So this is a very important time for 99% of the time, 99% of the guys on the roster.
Interesting spot to end off, because I'm scrolling through the text here. I see this one from 7201 down in Texas. I suppose they'll give players and coaches big raises, should cut their pay and NIL instead. Everything is back on the table. It's a new system right now. I don't think
Yeah.
Nebraska lost today because guys got fat and sassy, because guys were
No.
complacent.
No.
I don't think that's what today was about. Now, maybe you can argue, yeah, they weren't working as hard when they first got here, and there wasn't maybe 100% sweat equity put in, and they got here in the winter, over the summer, or whatever it was. Okay, fine, but that's not something you and I can answer. That's not something you and I can say. That's up to the players. And that's, again, Jay, where I go back to, at the very least, Nebraska has at least 2 weeks, maybe 3, to work on itself. Especially to your point, the guys that are coming back.
Right.
If you are tired of losing to Iowa like this, if you're tired of being 1 play away against USC, 1 play away against UCLA, 1 play away against Illinois, go back through the list of 1-score losses. Not all of them are on you, but you're in the program. You bear that weight.
Right.
If you're tired of that, look yourself in the mirror and say, did I do everything I could have in the summer? Did I do everything I could have in the fall? And if you didn't, now's the time to start. If you can look yourself in the mirror and say, yeah, I did, do one more. Bring
Right.
someone else along with you.
Yeah, I mean, this is a for, like I said, majority. I would probably say Ty is the only guy that has a huge decision to make. I think he's played himself into, I don't know how many defensive tackles are like coming out, but he's definitely in the top 5. I mean, by my estimate,
Day 2 guy, at least.
yeah, and that's second, third round. So he has a decision to make. Everybody else, you coming back to play one more game in Nebraska, put your cherry on top, so forth and so on. There might be a guy or two. Obviously, you got Tommy Hill getting ready for the Senior Bowl, and maybe Nash. I can't, maybe Banks and all that, but ultimately you got one more chance to play. And it's not necessarily about Iowa. It's about you. It's about, okay, we were a part of the senior class. No matter how you got here, whether it's transfer portal or stayed through 3 coaching changes. We're here at a bowl game. So let's go represent. Let's finish this thing off right. But then also, if I'm a younger player, this is the chance to take over the team. So if I'm talking to Dylan, this is your team. Even though they're seniors, this is your team. This is, for Emmett or anybody else, this is your team. So let's see you guys step up with 2 or 3 weeks of work, for practices or whatever it is. Let's see what you guys do and let's go represent. This is the first snapshot into what we can expect to see next year. Yes, they have to go in the portal and replace a lot of players. Yes, they have to, coach and develop a lot of players on the staff or on the roster. But you're in a no different position than anybody else because you have the most important position covered, and that's quarterback. So you always have a chance. And so now you need to take that chance and accentuate it. You could use it as, okay, well, we're talking to 6 guys in the portal at a need position and say it's either offensive line, receiver, tight, whatever it is, DBs or whatever. Now we're actually showing you like how good we are as a staff, as a team, and where you could fit in. Because those are the things that I've been talking to you for however long through the recruiting process that you can have an opportunity to come in and have a positive effect in our program, both in the locker room and on the field. And so it's a great opportunity all around. Now today stings because this is a game we literally had in the palm of our hand and we tripped over our foot and we didn't deliver. It's like having a turkey. You cooked it all day since we're in Thanksgiving and you had to pull it out and you said, you know what? I don't need the hot mitt gloves. I'm going to do it by hand, and you drop it and it's all over the floor and you end up on the internet.
D-Train says, I wonder how much money Iowa spends to buy all the luck. NIL isn't name, image, likeness for them. It's name, image, and luck. 9819 says he's been saving up for over a year to go to a bowl game. So
good.
Enjoy your trip. Hopefully it's somewhere covered
nice
or warm.
Yeah.
We'll have to see. Kevin McGrath says most embarrassing second half in recent memory. Jay, it wasn't a good second half.
No.
But we have seen much more embarrassing halves of football than what we saw tonight. It wasn't good. Again, we're not trying to excuse it.
Yeah.
But that wasn't an embarrassment. That was just a letdown.
Look, listen, here's what's always funny. You always have, my grandma used to always say is how soon, and you know this, Austin, how soon they forget. And it's a Bible verse. How soon they forget. How soon they shall forget. And when you think about last year against Maryland, where we were playing kickball with the ball in the second half.
Yeah.
Or at Michigan State or at Wisconsin, all these things. Now, there's been growth, but let's not forget how far we come. Now, there is no excuses for us in the second half. Iowa didn't play better defense. We played worse offense. So the frustration should be real, but let's also not forget where we are versus last year. One of Dylan's best attributes this year is the ability and the mindset to take care of the football versus last year. If Dylan is on the team last year, we're not only 6-6, we're 8-4. Now this year we're 6-6 based on some other circumstances, but him taking care of the football for the most part and for the majority of the year is the reason why we're bowl eligible. And yes, there should be frustration, but then also there needs to be, like, I guess I call a realization that he's, where we're at is part of the process. Now, how do you go from 6-6 to 8-4 and 10-2? Well, you got to be more explosive on offense. You got to make the simple plays look spectacular. And there's some things that you need to change personally, player to player, even like say coach to coach, that you got to think like, okay, this was good, but it's not good enough. I need to do this better. We need to do this better as a collective unit. And there's nothing wrong with a little edge or actually a lot of edge, because I think if more edge, more emphasis, and that will also be the reason why Dana Holgrimson is not such abnormal behavior, because the normal behavior is Jay or Austin, I need you to do better for the betterment of you, not for the betterment of me, or for the betterment of you, not for the betterment of me.
Mm-hmm.
And this is what I know you can. This is what I'm going to demand. And I will not change under any circumstances because I know you can. I want you to. You have to. And we need you to.
Mm-hmm.
So I'm not going to bend.
For your good, I will not bend.
I love you so much. I care about you so much. And I like you so much because it's all about, it's always funny when, the players like them. Like, if I was coaching, I don't care if you like me. I want you to respect me.
Mm-hmm.
I don't need to like you. I need to respect you. I'm always going to respect you, but I'm going to like you and love you enough to tell you the truth and coach you the same. And that's where you need to get to. And that's where Dana's at. And that's where you go from 6-6, 8-4, 10-2, and you get a magical year somehow, some way, which really isn't that much benefit to go 12-0. Because if you get to like 10-2, you're in the college football playoffs, especially if you're Nebraska.
Let's get to this from Chris in Omaha. He says, Jay, you've kind of addressed this, but I think it's worth going over again. Jay, is this an issue of the boys not knowing how to close the door, or is it the coaches not giving the right schemes on either side of the ball?
I mean, I'm a big player accountability.
Mm-hmm. And tonight, Nebraska was in position to make every play they could have made.
I think
tonight
it's more. I think we just didn't make enough plays, and it's hard to say because, people say, "Well, you're talking on both sides." I think we made enough plays. I just think we just didn't make enough play. I will say this: in the second half, we didn't make enough we didn't make the same plays we made in the first half. That swing pass in the first half, null and void.
Mm-hmm.
Worst case scenario, first down.
Mm-hmm.
Right?
Yeah.
Here's what really set that up was when they ran the off tackle play to the left, which is towards their sideline for about 18 to 20 yards. That was his best run.
Mm-hmm.
That was set up by a misread by both our linebackers. We didn't get off blocks at the defensive end or jack position and defensive tackle position play side, and we had a bad filler in the alley.
Mm-hmm.
And then we didn't Hartzog he didn't keep his outside shoulder free.
Will we see this on the whiteboard on Wednesday?
Yes, the hell we will. Well, and then we didn't keep outside leverage.
Mm.
So the cause and effect. So I think it was more or less we didn't make the plays that we needed to in the second half. We made a lot of plays in the second half, but the ones we needed to make when it came to, cutting time, we didn't make them.
A couple more things from the text line here. We'll let Jay go at the top of the hour, bring in Chancellor. Chase B says, don't think I've ever been this mad after a loss just because it seems when Nebraska panics, they regress back to the Frost era. I'm going to need a new bad call break because it was the least expensive thing I could destroy. So we got Chase B, who's never been more mad. On the flip side, we have Kent say, guys, I've had season tickets for 20 plus years. No more money to that program. It just creates more apathy for me. I hate to say I've had season tickets for 26 years. They'll be available next year. You're going through it. You're going to a bowl game, but I think you've made this point, Jay. It sucks right now. It needs to light a fire. But I think, I don't want to put words in your mouth, but I think most Husker fans right now are taking a step back and saying, disappointed tonight. Not the biggest step forward the program could have taken this year, but it is still big picture a step in the right direction.
It's in the right direction. It's progress. It's not enough progress. And it's a good thing to expect more and be disappointed. But then also don't be so disappointed it clouds of step forward in reality of where you're at.
Mm.
Now, I do think it needs to be ramped up, though. I like more pressure. I like more intensity. I like more edge. That's just, I like that.
And you've been saying that for weeks on Old School
right.
now. The time is now for the leaders on Nebraska's team to crank up the heat.
I mean, it literally is like, I love Jolly Ranchers. I do. That's my.
What's your favorite flavor?
Blue raspberry.
Nice.
It is.
Watermelon, then blue raspberry.
And then green apple as well.
Okay.
And cherry.
Come on.
Yeah, it don't matter. I'm not.
You don't get this work.
Listen, come Jolly Ranchers, come one and come up. But how you make a Jolly Rancher is you have it, you crank up the heat, and then you cool it down.
Mm.
I like when the heat is cranked up because I know exactly if you can handle my heat, you can handle anything. And so I'm for everybody that texts in and say you're disappointed. and you're mad, that's good, because that's a problem, because you're actually, without you knowing, or maybe you're actually invested. Now, as players and as coaches, we got to make sure that when we're in this situation again, we cannot do it. We can't make zero mistakes. We are better. We are more talented than Iowa. We have to play like it. We have to play a good first half. And even in the first half, we left a lot of meat on the bone. Okay, so then therefore in the second half, we got to eat off the bone. We can't just say we're going to keep leaving double meat on the bone, and then Iowa somehow starts making plays, whether it's a fluke special teams play or a screen pass that should have been dead in the water at least after 10, maybe 12. Heck, I'll even give you 20 yards, not 72 yards. Like, we can't do that. We're not good enough to do that, let alone we're better than Iowa to do it. So let's go out there and act like it. So there's plenty of things to be fixed, but there's also progress. And it's the last game of the season till we'll play for maybe 3 weeks, probably, maybe 4. Heck, if you go apples to apples, well, if we play on the 27th or 28th, then it's a month. But ultimately, if you're in the Nebraska football program, there's a lot of progress that can be made. You can put the nail in the coffin in a good year by going in the win. You can develop a lot of players by getting 3 weeks of practice that you never can get back because we never have had it for 7-8 years. You also, if you have early enrollees in January, they can practice with you. So then, therefore, you can get a leg up on everybody else moving into the offseason. This is something that Wisconsin was able to have
for 22 years.
22 years in a row, or quite frankly, our last 5 years that we weren't able to have, or last 8 years we weren't able to have. So there's a lot of things leading in the positive way. Now we just got to figure out a way to get through it, and you got to push yourself more. I mean, I always felt like when I remember the first time, Austin, I know we got to go to break, is that the first time I really ever played in a cold game.
Let's pause 10 seconds for ID and then tell us about the first time you ever played in a really cold game.
This is Lincoln's home for sports talk on the FM dial. Also online at theticketfm.com. On the internet. KNTK FM Firth, 93.7 The Ticket.
I remember the first time in Buffalo. And I remember it like yesterday. The first time I played in a seriously cold game, like 40 degrees, 30 degrees. That's nothing. I grew up in Minnesota, right?
Right.
But the first time I ever played in a below zero game. And I remember Henry Jones, and I love Henry Jones. His daughter ran track at USC, and she made the Olympics. Big shout out. I used to call him Big Bang Hank. He was one of the best safeties in the league. Played at Illinois, and he was always really, for whatever reason, he was good to me. I don't know why it was. Maybe it was because my locker was by him. I was kind of real reserved or whatever.
He has an eye for character. That's why.
Yeah. I'll take that. Right. I don't know. Maybe where he got dumbfounded. I was fooling him enough. I didn't, I was kind of always just kind of to myself. And he said, listen, when you play in your first really, really cold game, it's going to test your manhood. He's like, but you never want to walk off the field and tell yourself it really wasn't that cold. And the crux of the story is when you're training in the off season, or when you're doing the sled pushes like they're doing out there in the snow, and it seems like monotonous, you don't understand the reason why. Well, when you play in these games and it's come down to nut cutting time, that's the reason why. That's the reason why it's not as cold. The reason why, like, I remember specifically in my time that I had worked out in the morning because I had a job at Gallup, and we ran, and I was going to take off because I already did my workouts. And Jason Peter, Grant Wistrom, Mike Rucker, Kelsey, and everything said, no, we're going to go actually do another workout. And I did it, and I continue to do it for the betterment of the team. Now, did that lead to me having, 10 more tackles? I don't know. But what it let me know is when we came down to make a play against Washington, up at Washington in 1997, after we had beat their butt up and down the field and they were able to kind of hit some deep passes and offense sputtered, I had to make a play to win. Come to Colorado in 97 when we're up by 3 scores. They come roaring back. I had to make the game saving tackle. Now, to me, I felt like all the things I made in the offseason came to that. So those are the things that these guys have to really realize moving forward will lead to later term, success. And that's what's most important.
I forget the exact way you phrased it, but basically nothing's ever guaranteed in football. But
No.
if you don't put the work in, it's never going to happen.
Listen, it goes like this. If you do average, I can guarantee you're going to be average. If you do more, I can't guarantee you will be more than average, but I can guarantee you if there is a chance that you become more than average, that you will be. But I can guarantee you one thing. If you do less than average or you're not willing to do more, there's a high chances that you don't reach your potential or you do less. And that could be as simple of, are you hearing the coaches versus listening? Are you watching tape versus watching like a movie? Are you is your intent every day at practice is to get better or get through? There's a plethora of reasons to do it. And I really feel like as a former defender, which doesn't matter. I mean, let's be honest. I mean, I'm almost 50. It doesn't matter. For these guys, the mindset I would have going against the number 2 rusher in the nation or the number 2 player is not today. Today is not your day. Today is when you don't get 100 yards. Today is when you don't score. Today is your worst day.
Well, it's what Nebraska did to Ryan Kalkbrenner in basketball.
Right.
That mindset.
Right. Today is not your day.
Mm-hmm.
I'm sorry, man. Your seniors, you let your seniors down. You're a big boy. You deal with it. You just apologize to them dudes. You lost you lost the game for them, and I'm gonna tell you about it. And for Nebraska's sake, the one positive is they have one more game. Now, how you approach this game and how you attack this game, both seniors that play in this game, juniors or below that are on this team, how you attack this game will actually set forth the path for the next 2 or 3 years, because the seniors have got you to this point. So they got you over the edge, got you bowl eligible.
Mm-hmm.
So now it's the juniors and sophomores team. And I guess you could say freshmen because it's Dylan and Ja'Cory. So now it's your team.
Mm-hmm.
So what you going to do with it? So when you touch down tonight, this isn't like, oh, we got 4 or 5 days off. This isn't like I get it. You need time off to decompress. But this is your team. This is your team right now. Matter of fact, this was your team last week. But now, officially, this is your team. What do you want it to be? What do you want to take it from a step further? And what you are okay with and what you're not with will set forth to this program, to be honest with you, for the next 2 or 3 years. Mm-hmm. If you think you're okay, if you're okay with just being average, then I got a problem with you. If you're not okay with being average, which is 6-6, then I'm okay with it. Then things will actually change, or I wouldn't say change. Things will actually get magnified or get better. You will see it. It will not be just talk. It will be actions.
We got the Jay Foreman Bowl on Sunday. Flying up to Buffalo to shovel 5 feet of snow off the field.
Yeah. I mean, listen, San Francisco got, long as Trent Williams ain't playing, we win. Because let me tell you something. The last name, I'm going to tell you, and I'll tell you this before we go to break. I've never been scared on the football field. I wouldn't say scared, but there's 2 dudes I was wary of when I played football. And one was after the game, and then one was before the game. And like Barry Sanders and all that. I remember I was supposed to play with a preseason game. He didn't play. I was like, I'm making it.
I'm on the roster. Barry's not embarrassing me up.
I'm making the team. He's not going to break my ACLs because we had the same agent. But Kevin Gogan, after playing against Kevin Gogan, I was like, yeah, that dude is, he's built a little different, because he hit me in my underneath my ribs and dropped me like a sack of potatoes. So I knew that he told me about it, and I talked to him he just was He wasn't all the wires were not straight, you know?
Yep.
He didn't look like much. He was 6'6", a big, just fat country dude. But he just was just there to kick your ass, right? But then another time, I remember it was late in his career, and I remember what was Eric Williams from the Dallas Cowboys. He was flat. Him and his name was Zeus from the Browns, Orlando Brown. They both were right tackle. They were mean. They didn't want to just block you. They wanted to demoralize you. They wanted to hurt you, though.
Mm-hmm.
And that's the difference. Mm-hmm. And so, luckily for Nebraska, they ain't got to face nobody like that. But ultimately, that was what, like, for Buffalo Bills, for like Von Miller coming back, you know, just getting off injuries, for Russo, who's having a great year, or Espinoza, that's having a great year. Trent Williams ain't playing, because Trent Williams is the closest thing to Eric Williams and Orlando Brown, because Trent Williams is the enforcer, and Buffalo's going to win. And we're going to clinch the division because the Miami Dolphins were too scared to play in the cold.
Again.
Soft.
You'll hear about it during Inside the Huddle, I'm sure, during Old School on Monday as well. Well, Jay, I'd say it's been fun. It's been after a loss, but thanks for letting me fill in for Nick. Hopefully I did okay.
You did great. And Nick, you should be worried because was it Wally Pipp?
Wally Pipp?
Yeah, Nick, you just got replaced. And Nick's on his way back. But yeah, I mean, it's nobody's, I mean, I'm sure they should be pissed off, but ultimately, you know, you got to wash this thing and figure out how to get out of your own way. 10 points is not good enough. No matter how good offense. And the reason why, Austin, before we're going to break, I don't think Iowa's defense is the same defense of 2 years ago.
Not vintage.
Yeah. And it's still good.
Mm-hmm.
But I feel like Nebraska left a lot of meat on that bone.
Yeah.
Kind of like a turkey carcass that if you don't know how to carve that turkey, you left a lot of meat on that bone.
Hey, good for us.
Yeah.
We got leftovers. We can get the meat off the bone. Too late for Nebraska. 13-10 loss to Iowa. He's Jay Foreman. I'm Austin Norman. Jay's out of here. I'll stick around with Chancellor Brewington for a little bit. Keep the comments rolling in. 402-464-5685. We'll be back in a sec.
With a wide variety of menu options, including the best prime and Wagyu steaks in Lincoln, if you haven't been to Tavern 180, you're missing out. Try any of their steak options paired with one of their well-known martinis, and this will soon become your favorite date night spot. Call your friends for a casual get-together where steak, shrimp, chicken, and tasty cocktails await your arrival. Tavern 180, located next door to Tanner's at 30th and Yankee Hill.
Ever wish you had another light switch on the other side of the room on a dark night? How much better would you sleep at night if you had a ceiling fan in your room? The High Electric Service Department is here to make your electrical what-ifs a reality. Whether you're looking to replace some outdated light fixtures or brighten up your counters with under-cabinet lighting, High Electric can handle all types of residential electrical installations and services. Give Erica a call at 402-466-6606 or visit high-electric.com to get started.
Hey, bestie! Whoa, how'd you snag that awesome set of wheels? I'm in the market for a new car, too. My friends at Members Own Credit Union. You're always in the driver's seat when it comes to your finances at Members Own.
Always in the driver's seat, huh?
Yep. They set you up with a loan that makes sense for your budget with great rates and top-notch customer service to boot.
Looks like we're going to need to make a pit stop.
Let's go. I'll drive. Hit the road to financial success and explore auto loan options with your best financial friend, Members Own Credit Union. For details, go to membersowncu.org/drive. Federally insured by the NCUA.
Empower a child today with the Teammates Mentoring Program. Hope is only a conversation away when you choose to share your talent, time, and heart with a child. Together, you can build a relationship based on strengths and chart a brighter future, 1 week at a time. Find out how you can be a mentor by visiting LincolnTeammates.org. Become what you needed as a kid by joining the Teammates Mentoring Program today.
At Anderson Ford, we offer a 5-day return or exchange policy, so you can make sure the vehicle you choose is the best vehicle for you. No pressure. Right now, lease a 2024 Ford F-150 for $395 per month. Experience better at Anderson Ford.
Stock number 1003769, $395 per month, lease for 36 months with proof credit, 7,500 miles per year, $5,250 to its signing, no security deposit required. Tax, title, and license fees extra. Residency restrictions apply. Program subject to change. Must take new retail delivery from Anderson Auto Group by 11/30/24. See delivery details.
It's game on at Elway Power Sports of Lincoln, Nebraska's premier Kawasaki dealership. Score big on Kawasaki's all-new Ridge lineup. the Ridge XR, the Ridge HVAC, and the Ridge Limited. All built to take on your day with a full factory cab, including heat and AC. Stop by Indian Motorcycle of Lincoln today and rule the streets on an Indian motorcycle with customer cash and trade-in credits up to $2,000 during the month of November. Elway Power Sports of Lincoln at 27th and I-80.
This show's pretty rockin', huh?
Yeah, I'm so glad my State Farm agent helped me go.
Huh?
My State Farm agent. They help me with options to personalize my auto insurance to get a great rate that fits my budget, so I don't have to give up the things I love.
Wow. Hey, so do you think I could get your State Farm agent's number?
Call your local State Farm agent, Vinny Kreekak, at 402-474-1173.
Individual premiums and budgets will vary by customer. All applicants subject to State Farm underwriting requirements.
Black Friday savings all month long. From appliances to mattresses, the savings can be found at Schaefer's. For a limited time, you can save $200 on a legendary Speed Queen pair of your own, including new black models with a 7-year warranty. These American-made machines are built on a solid foundation to outlast the competition. Every day is Black Friday in November, now at Schaefer's.
Mindel Footwear is your solution against sore feet, blisters, and poor footing. Don't just take our word for it. Take it from Sip, who said he's never had a pair of boots more comfortable. You won't find Mindel Footwear in any store sold exclusively at MindelUSA.com right out of Sidney, Nebraska. They're so confident you will enjoy the comfort their boots offer. If they don't work out for you, they'll cover the shipping to return them. Use code THETICKET for free shipping because your feet deserve a treat too. Mindel Boots, just try them on.
Hey, Nebraska football fans, it's defensive lineman Ty Robinson, and I've got a winning play for you with Action Plumbing, Heating, AC, and Electrical. Team up with Action and install a new Bradford white water heater in your home. And if we win the conference championship this season, you'll get a full refund. Don't fumble this opportunity. Sack your old water heater this season and score big with Action. Visit actionlincoln.com/Huskers to learn more.
Promotion valid for a limited time. Terms and conditions apply. See website for details.
Jay Foreman Postgame Show. Sponsored by Anderson Ford, Tanner's Bar and Grill, Elway Power Sports of Lincoln, Tavern 180, Vinny Kreekak of State Farm Insurance, and Action Plumbing, Heating, AC, and Electrical.
Huge thank you to all those sponsors you just heard from. Big Voice Bob. Could not do post game without you. We will have one more of these after Nebraska's bowl game. I don't know why we wouldn't, at least. I probably shouldn't make promises I am not in charge of keeping. If it's up to me, we'd have another pre and another post game. But either way, huge thank you to the sponsors. Austin Norman still here, joined now by former Husker tight end Chancellor Brewington. Well, Chancellor, seen this one before?
Yeah. Been a part of a couple of them. Yeah.
Tough
one. It's tough. It's tough. And Jay hit it on the head. I was listening. He hit it on the head. This is one of those where, Rhule kind of briefly touched on it too. It's like the same old story, just a different day, and there's so many ways, you can hit this, but I think from an overall standpoint, I think the guys were put in good positions to win. I mean, you talk about, the last play of the game, you talk about defensively, they Coach White made an adjustment, go to a 4-3, kind of get out the 3-3-5 a little bit, little nuances there, switch up the defense. I think it did incredible against, Caleb Johnson. You have that, obviously, that one big play. You don't get them down right there. But overall, I mean, defense performed, good enough to win. Offense, I would say they started off hot. There was a couple instances early where, Rhule missed some throws, obviously the deep ball to Jalen Lloyd. And then obviously the sack late. So there was plenty of options or plenty of chances to win this game and to actually put this game away. Just something as little as the snap on the field goal. Like it's just little things like that, and it's been a commonality. But I would say for the seniors and for the guys, like this is a bitter moment. This is not, there's no bittersweet. This is just all bitter. Definitely one you want to get, but yeah, that's kind of like my overall thoughts.
Nebraska's how many points short again tonight?
3. Does
that mean something to you?
Yeah, and maybe I'm just too much on the psychological end of things, but
so I really like you. It's fine.
Yeah. So, okay. So
if you start this season off and say, we need to chase 3. So let's just talk about what chase means. Chase means you're from behind and you have to catch up to 3, right?
Mm-hmm.
So that's been the theme of the season. And I think inside that chasing 3 is really talking about 1-score games, right? We're chasing those where we need to win those 1-score games, right?
Mm-hmm.
We're chasing the 1-score games. Why not? I don't know. I don't know. Maybe this is too much, but why not just say dominate? We're going to dominate each game.
Mm-hmm.
You start the year off, the first loss, Illinois, you're chasing 1 score.
Mm-hmm.
You end the year off chasing 1 score. I guess is, and that's maybe my, theory or whatever. I would love to hear yours, and obviously the comments, YouTube, text box, whatever it is. It just doesn't make sense to me. And I think there needs to be a shift. I mean, you hear the guys from the 90s talk like they want to come in and kill. They want to come in and dominate. I don't mean that from a morbid or, gruesome standpoint. Like it was a battle. Like they want to win. Like that's what they came to Nebraska for, not to chase 3. Right?
Right.
And for Nebraska to, everyone around here wants Nebraska to get back to where they were. You got to establish that dominant mentality instead of when 3 points come up or, we're down by 3 or a tie game or whatever it is. Now, all of a sudden, everyone that's watching the game and everyone in the game, because I've been in those games, have to take like everyone's eyes get wide. And it's all of a sudden like you act like you've never been there before.
Mm-hmm.
Right. And it's tough. It's tough. I'm passionate about this because I don't understand it. I didn't understand it when I was there. I don't understand it now. And I want it to end as soon as possible.
You a psychology major?
No, but I'd read a lot of psychology books.
Makes sense. I will leave all of that to you. And I think that the easiest way for me to kind of wrap my brain around it, which you can't, but the play that swung the game, well, many of them, but the biggest play for Iowa was the swing pass to Caleb Johnson.
Yeah.
Right? I don't think it was Nebraska not wanting to tackle Caleb Johnson, right? But this is where I'll maybe get deep into my bag of philosophizing as best I can here. How many of Nebraska players, when they woke up today or when they first read the scouting report, said or had their first, not even said to themselves, but their first reaction deep down in their gut, their heart, their brain, wherever, was, give me that guy. I want the challenge of tackling him. Versus how many Nebraska players got out on the field, their first snap, and said, I hope they run the other way. And again, they're not telling themselves that in their mind, right? Everyone they get on the field is going to be like, okay, what's my responsibility? What's my job? What do I do? But Jay gave the example, and that's why I'm going to go off of here. I'm just going to take Jay's words. He said when he got on the field, he wanted to kill you. He wanted to dominate you, sometimes to his detriment, right? He was a danger to others and to himself. He was a weapon on the football field. How many Nebraska players view themselves as weapons? How many Nebraska players right now on the offensive line, in the tight end room, in the running back room, would be willing to look Jay Foreman in the eye and say, I'm going to meet you in the hole. Let's test our wills. How many Nebraska defenders, their first thought, subliminal, front of mind, whatever it is, look at Caleb Johnson and say, I know the gap you're going to. I'll meet you there. Let's do this.
Yeah, that's a great question. And I think it starts with the player. It starts with the player and it ends with the player. I'll say that. It starts with the decision. A decision, I mean, if we're just talking about life in general, decision making is everything. So you got to make a decision to, okay, this is what I want to do and this is who I am and all this stuff. But I think also environment plays a role as well. You need an environment, man, where it's just like, it's just a bunch of nasty dudes out there just getting after it. And I don't mean that in a vulgar way, but like, and like, I think from a coaching standpoint, like you got to instill in these guys because, hey, for whatever reason, we're in a different age, social media different, there's it's just different than back in the day. Right. And sometimes you just need, some of these younger guys just need, like a coach to just like really, I would say believe in them, but also like affirm them to say like, bro, like you got this, like you can do X, Y, and Z, and a head coach, that can affirm that as well. And I think they have that, but I think it's like you have to like rewire it so much based on the old team and coaching staff.
You've been a college football player. You've been coached by a lot of different guys.
Yeah.
I'm sure you could go back throughout your career and pick out the coaches that taught you skills
Uh-huh.
and the coaches that unlocked you as a player, right?
Yeah.
Because I don't want to say Nebraska doesn't have, football killers, right?
Yeah.
Matt Rhule and, plenty of other Nebraska programs want to recruit the nice guys, right? That you take home to mama or whatever.
Yeah.
And that's all fine and good, right?
Right.
You want to be a classy program. You want to win respectfully. But the best players, Chancellor, and I'm sure, most players at the Division I level, when you step between the lines, you're a different person. You can be the nicest, classiest, most respectful person in the world off the field and have some piss and vinegar to you between the lines.
Yeah. And,
does Nebraska have the coaches on staff to identify which players have that switch that they can flip? And does Nebraska have the coaches that can unlock that element from their players? I think we're still trying to find that.
Yeah. I'm going to be honest with you, Austin. I love that analogy. And I think the icing on the cake is, or the finisher is, the coach has to be able to do it as well. So you guess like you hit it on the head. You're unlocking something because the potential is all inside of us. And, and just specifically talking about football, it's all inside of us. So you just sometimes need just one or two people to just know how to talk to you, know how to communicate, know how to get that out, whether it's hard coaching, whether it's, okay, this guy's a little, this guy coaches himself a lot. I don't have to coach him as much. I just have to kind of test him in certain areas, like just little things like that, right? Or this guy's like, he's hard on himself, but he lacks detail. I have to just get this right. And that unlocks it in him. But yeah, I think it does. I think it does stem from the top, but I'll always say this. It starts with the player and it ends with the player. And when you look at this game today, plenty of opportunities, great scheme. I mean, I'll say it again, Tony White with the 4-3, I mean, stopped everything. Like, I'm sure Iowa is coming back to the sideline after each possession because now they switch it up. They went 4-3 and then they went overhang here, 5 down. Like, so they did a bunch of different stuff. Tony White did a great job scheming it up. So I'm sure Iowa's OC is like, man, they didn't come out 3-3-5. I was expecting them to come out this. They end up stopping Caleb Johnson except for that big run, which, and on that big running catch right there, little screen pass Caleb Johnson, it seemed like John Bullock was trying to hold him up. Defensively, you talk about holding a guy up and trying to punch at the ball. It looked like that was what was going to happen. And then Deshaun Singleton comes in and kind of throws John Bullock off and it just messes up the whole thing. That if you take that play, I think that's the play you want back, or I don't know, if you could take one play back, what would it be, Austin?
There's a few of them. I'm just going to list the options because I don't know. I mean, maybe it's as simple as catch the punt or let the punt bounce into the end zone.
Oh, I forgot about that.
Maybe it's as simple as get a good snap on the field goal.
Yeah.
The one that comes to mind for me, though, is Nebraska was starting to put a drive together, starting to move in late, I think it was early into mid-fourth quarter. Rhule drops a dime to Nair crossing over the middle of the field. It goes right through 18's hands.
Oh, yeah. Boy.
So obviously the screen pass comes to mind, the special teams gaffes, but I think an under-the-radar play, if Nair catches that one, Nebraska's really in business within field goal range, and who knows, there's a couple guys downfield in front of him. Can they block? Can he find his way in for 6 points? So I guess I go with that one right now.
Yeah, that's a good one.
Or
That's
the one to Jalen Lloyd he missed by 5 yards.
Oh my gosh, and that's 7 right there.
Yeah.
That's easy 7. That's easy 7. There's no one over top. And I think the point that you're making indirectly is that there were so many available options and so many available, chances to make plays. You were put in great situations early in the game, midway through the game. These were everyone you said is first quarter, second quarter, third quarter, fourth quarter. Everything you said. So there was no shortage of opportunities. And I thought Holgrenson called a really good game. There was only one questionable call, but every OC has his own philosophy. So, I mean, what am I to question whatever?
Did you like the game plan from Holgrenson today?
Yeah, I did. I thought it was good. I thought maybe just maybe getting Emmett Johnson going a little bit more in the third quarter. It went a little bit Dante, but I mean, Dante was running the ball good. So you kind of stay with him.
You ran for 165 yards if you factor out sacks.
Yeah.
4 yards a carry.
I think the one question mark for me, which I understand it, is maybe going with Mazuka at left tackle a little bit more than Gunnar Gatula. So, and then obviously Gunnar Gatula comes in for a third down, ends up false starting.
Yeah.
Right. So it's kind of like you throw him in there and
You
throw
give
him
a guy
out.
a chance. You give a player a chance.
Yeah. You give him a chance, and then Mazuka false start, and then he doesn't false start, but he ends up whiffing on a big third down, ends up, that left side of the line of scrimmage. I was DN, had a great day today. And then, the ball security things with Rhule has been an issue all year. Gets a little lackadaisical, and has some miss opportunities. I think he's growing as a player, but I think it's kind of like a opportunity this offseason after bowl game, maybe before, but mostly after bowl game, for him to be able to get back to his quarterback coach and get back to the film and get back to work on his body, and work on his speed and work on lateral movement, change of direction, getting his feet underneath him, arm angle, elbow angle, touch here, decision making, stuff like that, and really grow as a player. Because I think there's a lot to build off of, but I think he got a taste of it's not like everyone around me is as good as me, right? And so I have to be so sharp that I don't know when the big play is gonna be that I need to make it, but I need to be ready for it at all times.
I think to that point, Dylan Raiola is not immature. I don't think he's lazy. I don't think he's arrogant in a bad way. It would be understandable if he was some of those things.
Yeah.
I think there's a difference between being personally immature, and I'm sure you can attest this, being football immature.
Yeah.
You only know what you know as a freshman coming into a program, right? So I don't think Dylan Raiola is lazy. I think part of it is true that maybe he's gotten away with some of this stuff before. He didn't get away with the loose ball in the pocket in the absolute worst moment for Nebraska, which is just part of the cosmic bad break that seems to continue to happen to this program. But that's where I think if Dylan Raiola, I'm not saying he hasn't worked on it, but get someone that holds you accountable, right? If we're going to play out this Patrick Mahomes comparison to him,
right?
Who is his Eric Bieniemy? It's sure not Marcus Satterfield anymore.
No.
Can Dana Holgerson be that? Can Glenn Thomas be that? Does it have to be Bobby Stroop in the offseason? Whoever it is, I don't know.
Right.
But because I think highly of Dylan Raiola, because I've heard so much praise from people inside and outside the program for him, I'm not going to say he's costing the team because he's selfish in any of those ways.
Right.
I think he just needs someone to, like a wild stallion, right? Break him of some of the bad habits because you see the potential.
Yeah. And it takes a special individual to do that. Like you're talking about, to take him under their wing and just say like, hey, like, because you talked about the immaturity as a player. You go back, and I'm sure a year from now, if he goes back and watches this Iowa game, he's gonna be like, I missed this throw. Why didn't I go here? I
make that my sleep.
Wait, what? Yeah, I make it in my sleep. Like, this is what I do on the regular now. Like, laughing, probably beating himself up a little bit, but and then acknowledging the growth. So, but this is necessary. This is necessary. There's a maturation process in nature. There's a maturation process in every facet of life. And we're just happen to be talking about football. And I think if Raiola can, and I think he will, you can just see it. You can see it in the way he walks, the way he carries himself. He's going to figure it out. He's going to. It will only be a matter of time. I know people are like, man, why didn't it happen this season? You're a 5-star, whatever. When I tell you, college football, there's so many different moving pieces. I don't care if your dad played 12 years, 20 years in the league, or you grew up around football. You have to do it yourself, and it's a lot different. It's a lot faster. Guys are a lot bigger, faster, and stronger. Guys are 6 months away from playing in the NFL, and 7 months away from getting drafted. So it's just it's a whole different ball game. We have to understand he's still 19 years old. Just a year ago, he was playing high school football.
Right.
Like, it's just like that.
Well, and the people that it's killing most are Dylan Raiola, Dominic Raiola, and Matt Rhule, right? How many times has Matt Rhule said, we can't get out there and make the plays for the guys?
Yeah.
Now, hire coaches that coach guys to make the plays, that unlock the best in the guys, but at some point it does ultimately come down to the players. Christian says, what's up, C Brew? And then also says, I feel like it's Groundhog Day. Someone tell me I'm not in a simulation. I promise I'm not going to be a jerk I'm not trying to be a jerk. If I brought it up to Jay, I want to throw it out to you as well. They flashed the stat up on the screen at halftime. The last time Nebraska held an opponent under 30 yards in the first half, Michigan State 2021.
Oh, boy. Jeez,
I'm sorry. I know you're familiar with that game, but think about it. Star running back, it's Kenneth Walker versus Caleb Johnson. Game seemingly swings on a special teams play, either the punt by 98 or the muff punt or the missed field goal by Nebraska today. Obviously, that Michigan State team went on to bigger and better things than this Iowa team will. There's some scary parallels, though, Chancellor.
Yeah, it is scary. And still a lot of guys still on this roster that were on that team.
Right.
Like, and a bulk of your dominant guys were on that team and playing in that game. And a part of that 21 culture and a part of that philosophy and a part of that, as you could say, paradigm. Like there's so many different ways to call it. And it's something that there needs to be some real, and now that I think about it, most of the guys, like Alex Bullock, I think Javen Wright's coming back, a couple different scenarios, right? But other than that, most of the guys are out. So you kind of have after this bowl game, you kind of have a fresh little, almost a fresh start with new guys. But also now these young guys have experienced the same thing in the past 2 years. The Vincent Shavers, the
Jacory's, Carter Nelson's, Cam Lenhart.
Yeah, the Mackay Bayers. Like they've been around for this. The Prince Wills, like they've been around for this. And now you got to make sure that first all these young guys don't adopt this. And find a way to fix it. I don't know. I don't have the answer, I guess. But
here's the thing: if you had the answer, or knew the person that had the answer, you'd be very rich coaching Nebraska football, right?
Now. Exactly.
It's part of the thing.
Exactly. So we're not out here saying like this needs to happen like X, Y, and Z. But we will say from an overarching standpoint, like I would say this probably is the problem.
That makes sense. So that's kind of a big picture question or concern that we've gotten from a bunch of people, and we just got a text from Kent that I think can kind of launch us into this. He says, guys, great coaches show their players things, might be small, that shows real progress. What has this coaching staff shown? Matt Rhule is now 11-13 at Nebraska. Help me understand. So I guess the question for me, Chancellor, is Nebraska improves its record right now by one game over last year, from 5-7 to 6-6. Did you see progress from this team from last regular season through this regular season?
Yeah, that's a great point. Whoever texted that in, great point. And that's a great question. Progress. I guess you can measure progress by player development. I think, by their fruits you'll know them.
Yeah,
but results tell the story. I mean, universal. The results tell the narrative. So you got one game better. I mean, at the end of the day, I mean, if we're gonna measure we can't think about ASU, how they performed last year, how they performed this year. They might be in the college football playoffs. Like it's a real thing. Like so, you talk about growth and progress. It's undeniable. So if you can't really measure it, you can't really see it. It's not really real, but it's not plain. Then there probably hasn't been a lot of growth. And I think that's really what we're seeing right now is in a lot of areas where we had the turnover margin. Well, now the defense let up a lot of big plays this year. And then,
Well, now Nebraska's turnover margin is negative after today, officially on the season.
So now, a repeat, I would say not as much of a repeat as last year, but you get a little bit better there. But, there's some mishaps in the special teams game, so I don't know about progress. I really don't know. And I know people have been like, year two with Rhule, you're expected to slot in at, 7-5 or whatever. I think it was around 7-5 for his Temple and Baylor days. But for the most part, I don't see a whole bunch of progress. Let me ask you this. If these two teams face off today, which is the better team?
Last year's or this year's?
Yeah. Whew. Even you having to say that right there.
This is where I always like to be careful in these kinds of discussions because I don't want to be a prisoner of the moment. Because a lot of the talk, let's take this just for the sake of this example, even outside of Nebraska.
Right.
Think about how much yapping we have heard from Lane Kiffin in the SEC about who would be favored on a neutral field, right? This is why the SEC still deserves 4 or 5 teams in the playoff.
Yeah.
Guess what? The results don't necessarily bear that out. let me just go through this kind of unit by unit. Special teams, both bad. Neither one is good. That's a wash, right? Maybe slight edge to this year's team with John Hull as kicker, but not a huge edge. I'm not willing to give them the for sure edge.
Yeah.
Offensively, I would like to take this year's team. I do think it's more well-rounded. I do think it's more versatile. Only scoring 10 points against Iowa, it's 10 points, right? You can't sugarcoat that the offense only scored in the first half, did not score in the second half.
Yeah.
But they also put up more yards on Iowa than they have in a while, 350 yards about, right? This offense with Dana Holgorsen, I like better than last year's offense, but the results are basically the same.
Right.
And then we get to the defense, Chancellor, and this is a really tough game for me to make this point, but I think it still stands up over the course of the season. The defense played well enough to win Nebraska this game, but then you have that one play where it's busted, right? And I said this during On the Block today with Strick, is that last year's defense and this year's defense, it's Spider-Man pointing. It's the same guys. They're a year older. And I think the hope for me was that Nebraska would find a way to get better, to take over games and not have lapses like this one play, to force a turnover out of a fifth-string quarterback that they didn't do. Iowa wasn't going to give him many opportunities to throw the ball. They went through it 15 times, but that was out of like 40-some total plays that they ran. Iowa had 41 plays on offense.
Wow.
The dude threw the ball on 15 of them. Okay, that's not very many opportunities, but you didn't force a single turnover there. The defense is basically the same unit, basically the same guys, and you're getting basically the same results. So to take this back, hypothetically, I would think maybe a hair better special teams and theoretically better on offense. I think I would take this year's team,
Okay,
but I can't say that definitively.
Great answer. Now let me ask you this. A bunch of the same pieces, correct? I mean, in offense, you got better. You got a lot better talent-wise, I would say.
You would think.
Right? Defensively, same guys from last year. You would think that their game is going to take the next level. And for a lot of them, it didn't. It didn't happen.
Right.
And I guess to pinpoint why that is, that's where the secret sauce of this program is to pinpoint, okay, why didn't Prince Will this year take a jump? Why didn't
Cam Lenhart?
Why is Cam Lenhart? Okay, why did Jalen Lowe? Okay, what's up with Henry and Justin Evans? Okay, like all these different pieces, right? Ben Scott, did he take a jump? Okay, you have to examine all of it. You have to examine all. Malcolm Hartzog. I mean, Deshaun Singleton. You got Makai. Why did John Bullock take a jump? Why did he? So there are guys who did. Why did Ty Robinson take a jump? Why did Nash not? And like, so you got to examine all these things. And as a collective coaching staff, I think obviously there's going to be pieces. Like you don't just demote your OC and he just there's just going to be pieces moving. Whether it's this and this. Tony White question mark there. There's going to be pieces moving. I think whether you keep the same group or it's a new group coming in, you have to really examine. Okay, we have these pieces here. Some of them aren't getting better by the results, by the progress, and some are. We have to figure out how to get everyone getting better, and anyone who gets into this program and culture, they get better.
Yeah. Mississippi Mud Dog says, if Holgorsen is the OC the whole year, I think there is more tangible progress. The offense held Nebraska back this year in multiple close games. Yes, I think that's almost indisputable. I mean, they only score, 13 points against USC with the pick six and 10 against Iowa. But I think the game plan is more solid. I think you saw legitimate playmakers, difference makers getting the ball more consistently. Guys seem like they're moving more confidently, talking more confidently about it. But again, some of it's theoretical because you didn't necessarily see huge results. But I think this loops us back to kind of where we started, right? Progress is on the players for getting better these next few weeks before bowl prep and game planning really starts. They get to focus on themselves. Use the time wisely, use it effectively. But this is a time for growth for Matt Rhule and his coaching staff too.
Yeah.
He might not want to make changes. He might think he has the right group in place.
Right.
It is his job to be right. He knows those guys or needs to know those guys better than any of us out here do.
Yeah.
Right. Mark D'Antonio at Michigan State, one of his last years, kept the entirely same group of position coaches and just gave them a new position to coach before he walked out the door. That's rearranging deck chairs on the Titanic. I don't think Nebraska is going to do that. I think there are legitimate, tough choices facing Matt Rhule right now. Who am I to tell him what to do, how to handle his business? It is his program. But I will judge the results because I expect him to know better. He's getting well compensated. He should know these players inside and out. And then when it comes to the individual coaches, to me, Chancellor, part of it is what we're talking about, the communicating who got better. Because maybe the team, it was progress. You did win one more game than last year.
Right.
You don't exactly have to pull out a magnifying glass to see it, but pretty close, right? You got to stoop down to see if there's a plant growing. Part of being a good coach, it's two things. Number one, identify your type of guy, who fits what you want to do and how you're able to coach. But number two, you don't recruit every guy in your room. If they're out of your area or someone finds a gem that you went over, you'll talk to them, right? But you might not be their primary recruiter.
Right.
You can only recruit so many of quote unquote your guys that listen to the way you coach, how you approach things. There are always going to be guys in a room that are a little bit different. Were you the same guy as Austin Allen, the same guy as Jack Stoll, the same as up and down the list?
Yeah, no.
You weren't. My opinion from the outside was that Coach Beckton did a good job of finding what made each of you guys tick. Hold you to the same standard, but be an effective enough communicator and good enough in building relationships to find out what unlocked each of you, because you're not the same lock. It doesn't take the same key.
Yeah. I mean, well, just like you said, I mean, Vokalek, me, and Borgacher, 3 completely different guys. And then in that room has everyone who's playing right now, Fedoni and Lindenmeyer. So that's a great point. And I think it takes a certain level of coach. You need to find that. You need to find that within your players. And I think, I would say it's best, obviously, to find former players that coach, of course. But I mean, I've been around coaches that didn't play, and they're fantastic. But the players definitely need, I would say, a nudge in the right direction. But yeah, that's a great point, Austin.
Back to the text line here, 402-464-5685, 4424. This was, okay. So he says, we lost guys, no way to cut it. Stop sugarcoating it. It doesn't change the baseline fact that Nebraska lost. As a fan, I'm tired of hearing we out-talent a team and then lose. There's no way to cut it. Your talent for Nebraska got beat again. I hope that this isn't coming off as sugarcoating, right?
Yeah.
I hope what it comes off as is perspective. Some things are better. Some things are the same. Maybe some things got worse, some individual players in individual areas. But fact of the matter is, as disappointing as this Iowa loss is, and that's what we're here to talk about, we still get to talk about this Nebraska football team for another month because they have another game. Something we haven't been able to say since. So I graduated high school in May of 2016. Nebraska last played in the bowl game after the 2016-2017 season. It's my freshman year of college, right? It's been a long time.
Right.
So I would say, at least for me, I'm not trying to come off as sugarcoating it. I want to provide perspective, because as much as tonight stings and hurts to lose a game like this to this team like we've seen before, the sun's going to come up tomorrow, guys.
Yeah, it will. It will. And I guess understanding and being in losses and being in wins and playing in good programs and playing in bad programs, or quote unquote bad losing programs, winning programs. I mean, the theme is, I mean, the sun does come up tomorrow, and you can't lay all your eggs in that basket and, put everything in there, because emotionally it's a roller coaster. But no, I hope we're not sugarcoating. I mean, we're keeping it real. I'm be honest with you. We're keeping it real. We're hitting it from every angle, psychologically, the physical development, the recruiting, what type of guys are going to make this program become better, because at the end of the day, first of all, with the air raid, you got to recruit a completely different skill set. That's a whole different skill set, and just understanding what type of guys work in this system, in this culture, because a culture in Nebraska is different than a culture in Baylor and a culture in Temple. It's just different. It's just different. The environment plays a part in that. So, I wish the coaches the best. I wish the players the best. Obviously, I want to see my alma mater them win in a dominant fashion, but I think it starts with the choice. It starts with the decision within the players and within the coaches as well.
Let's go to Dougie on the YouTube stream here. I've got some guys going back and forth. People saying that they're glad some players are leaving after this year. Dougie chimes in and says, I will always keep players like Bullock, specifically referring to John Bullock, who rise way above their talent level and set a standard for the more talented players. I don't know if John Bullock is rising above his talent level or rising above his recruiting rankings.
Yeah.
You know, there's a big difference there.
Yeah, I think he's obviously he's talented enough to do what he's doing, right? I mean, I don't think people realize like John Bullock, like he gonna mess around and probably run like a 4.5. Like he's a fast dude, you know what I'm saying? And so at the end of the day, like, you know, John Bullock, he is a walk-on, of course. He's a walk-on, of course. We got some people on O Street.
I can't read lips.
Yeah, I cannot read lips.
Can't read lips.
At the end of the day, they having a great time out there. But John Bullock is a great player. He's a great player, and his game has evolved. So I guess those are the type of people you need to understand and study and be like, okay, why did he get better in this program?
Jay brought this up, and I'd love your thoughts on it here too. The prep for next year starts now for the vast majority of this roster. And a lot of that, Chancellor, is due to competition. There will be competition for snaps in the bowl game, and the rosters are getting cut down. There's been a lot of talk about it from the coach's perspective. How are they going to make these cuts? You know, you got to identify the right players. Everyone's going to be on scholarship, or a higher percentage is going to be on scholarship now. But going off of what you've said, it ultimately comes down to the players. How do you think the game is going to change for those players, knowing that at a program like Nebraska, there are now 45 fewer opportunities for them to earn a spot on the team? They got to be one of 105 instead of 150.
Yeah, everyone's game's going to go up. The level of everyone's play is going to go up. It has to. It's natural. I mean, you're around more like-minded guys, or, you know, because I'm going to keep a bean. We're going to keep it real and not going to sugarcoat it, right, Austin? Some guys aren't there to play football. It's on every program. Some guys, even on scholarship, are there just to say they played at Nebraska, and just to maybe that's not really their dream and their goal. They just want to be there and just, you know, whatever. They were good in high school and they were good enough to play and whatever. They don't really want to make this program better. They don't really want to make this team better, right? And so now you kind of eliminate. I'm not saying every one of those guys are like that, but you're going to eliminate some of those guys, right? And now you're going to have 105 guys that are most likely guys that want to be in the program, want to play in the program, take college football really serious, going to take off-season workouts very serious, and that's going to raise the level of practice, raise the level of conditioning, workouts, all that stuff, and eventually, you know, raise the level of talent in Nebraska and in every roster and facility.
And I think you said before that starts with the young guys, right? The team is theirs now. Who are those young guys you want to see step up over the next darn near a month of practice and into the offseason? Who are those young building blocks that you think can't, you know, fall into the same trap that the recent years of upperclassmen maybe have?
Yeah, I think O-line wise, Gunnar Gatula, and just maybe some pieces we haven't talked about, maybe some redshirt guys. And then I would say guys like Ja'Cory Barney, guys like Carter Nelson, you know, Emmett Johnson is going to be in a real leadership role if he ends up, you know, staying and stuff like that. Dylan Rhule, of course. I mean, not only physically and mentally, but also like in a leadership role as well. And then defensively, you know, Vincent Shaver's going to have to take that next step. Principal and Cam Linhart, if they end up staying, like they're going to have to take a step. And Van Poppel, he's going to be the big dog up front. There's going to be a lot of question marks there. And then, you know, Malcolm Hartzog and, you know, I'm trying to think of who else. I mean, McGahee and you know, the secondary, Deshaun Singleton and Gifford, they gone. I mean, Gifford is I would say one of the most crucial pieces, that rover, right? You don't have him. I don't know if you can really play this 3-3-5 that effective, right? So I would say, you know, guys below them need to step up. But I would say just those names I named, yeah.
It's going to be fascinating to watch because, again, it's 15 more practices that this program hasn't had in recent years. And I think the temptation in this day and age, Chancellor, is for some of these guys to say, okay, played my 12 games. This was fine. It was okay, but I'm going to be looking elsewhere, right? On the one hand, it's up to the coaches, right? We hear it all the time. Re-recruit your roster. Obviously, there are new considerations for NIL and whatnot in this day and age. But I think part of coaching and recruiting as well is not just recruiting individual players, but how do they fit together as a class, right? Think of, high school classes or maybe smaller high schools, whatever, that you have some classes that are super tight, others that are super cliquey. If Nebraska wants to keep these guys around, if they are trying to make those guys that you named the next group of leaders, it's good that they could lean on Ty and Nash. List goes on and on, right? But now they got to lean on each other. That's what's going to keep these guys around more than any coach, more than any dollar amount. The relationship between Dylan Rhule and Ja'Cory Barney, just for an example, being roommates, that relationship is what's going to keep them at Nebraska.
Yeah.
Check won't hurt. Coaching won't hurt.
Right.
Prince Will and Cam, mentoring Willis McGahee potentially.
Right.
Vincent Shavers and say Mekhi Bayer, right? If there's a relationship there. Young DBs, you have 4 or 5 of them. They're going to have to step up next year. It would be so easy right now to say our support system is gone. There are going to be some that stand up underneath that challenge and say, cool, game on, my turn. And others that say, again, in their heart, oh boy, they got to lean on each other right now. And Nebraska, as a program, needs those guys to lean on each other more than any coach or anything else right now if they want that group to stick together.
Yeah, that's a great point. And I think also the additions in the transfer portal this offseason, that's gonna be huge. I'm not gonna say Rhule, Nebraska's gonna turn into like one of these portal teams, but I mean, at the end of the day, you need to definitely get some pieces in the portal. I mean, we talked about DBs. I mean, he got plethora of DBs that will be in the portal, receivers. Because you got to understand, like, that was kind of what sparked this offense and sparked, some bright spots in Nebraska's past 4 years. This portal, Samari Toure, Trey Palmer. You get guys from other places. You get the right guys first, of course. But I think developing
the next Chancellor Brewington.
Yeah,
easy.
Yeah,
Let's do it.
Something like that. But you get some pieces, right? And so pieces that fit your culture. And I think you kind of narrow that down as it goes, right? You probably bring in someone after 22 going into 23 season. Rhule probably went to a portal and got some guys, right? And we're like, this guy fit, this guy didn't fit. Okay, cool. Now you can re-examine it the next year. Okay, we bring in why did Jamal Banks and Isaiah Nair fit? Okay, we need guys kind of like this. Maybe, what they lacked here, we need to make up for it here, right? So it's kind of like this trial and error thing with the portal. You kind of find your way through it. But I think year 3 in the portal, I think Rhule he can understand that the way college football is going is the portal. And so you need to maximize that. I'm not saying you have to go out there and get, Kurt Cinetti, 25 guys in 2 weeks, right? But at the end of the day, you got to get some veteran guys who have played snaps, have legitimate stats to prove, okay, they know football, right? It's not a guy I need to groom that, came from Texas A&M and, played 1 snap, right? Like I need guys who played snaps, whether it be at, Power 4 schools, lower Power 5 schools. We need guys who play snaps at the end of the day and bring them in to help production. We need production. We don't need a fancy name on the roster. We need production.
Absolutely. And I think that Nebraska is still not a program that can afford to play the recruiting game with one arm tied behind its back.
Yeah.
It's one thing if Dabo Swinney says no transfer portal. He's been raked over the coals for it, deservedly so, right? Clemson's good. They're not what they used to be.
Right.
Is that only because of the portal? No. But why handicap yourself artificially? This team has put up enough stumbling blocks and barriers in its own way. It doesn't need another one, right? Let's start removing some of those barriers, some of those handicaps, and start seeing you win more games. You can still be a developmental program, love your guys, believe in your guys, and coach them up, and use the transfer portal. They are not mutually exclusive.
Yeah, it seems like you got like your Dabos and your Dabo on this side, the outlier. Then you got like Coach Prime, right? Deion Sanders at Colorado on this side, heavy in the portal game, wants this guy in the offseason. I think Rhule is kind of somewhere, I would say, a little in the middle, but a little bit on Dabo's side, right? I think for Nebraska to take this jump, I think he needs to go in the portal a little bit more and just get the talent. I think this is why we're seeing so many upsets this year and so many. College football is so weird. Why is this team good? Why is this team good? Well, they're going out in the portal and getting guys, and it's not like It's not like all your guys go to Bama anymore. It's not like that anymore. All your guys don't go to Ohio State.
Right.
They go where that, first of all, they go where they're going to play, and they go where that check is. And they can get it anywhere now.
Yeah.
It's not like I have to get it through, a John Doe check that shows up at my house, like these SEC school teams. Like, you know what I'm saying? Like, it's a different ball game.
One last text. Babalu, you're still with us about 90 talks before Saturday, November 30th. Babalu says that was as disappointing of a loss as ever for this 44-year-old Husker fan. Checking out till spring. Have fun at the bowl game, Huskers. That is a sour, dour note to end on. But I think that's kind of the prevailing theme here, Chancellor, is that we tried to look big picture. But tonight, right now, into tomorrow, watching the rest of the weekend of college football and NFL football, Nebraska had this one all but in the bag. Just couldn't tie it shut.
Yeah, and I hate to say it, Austin, but at the end of the day, you are who you are. You are
what your record says you are.
You are what your record says, and a 6-6 team is what we are. Sad to say it, but that's the truth.
That it is. Chancellor Brewington, kept you long enough.
Yeah.
Let's get home. Let's sleep it off and
let's sleep it off. Have a great Saturday.
There it is. We will sure try our best. For Chancellor Brewington, I'm Moss Norman. Appreciate all of you for chiming in here on our Starter Human Jewelers text line and video streams. Appreciate them for that. Big thanks to Anderson Ford of Lincoln, Vinny Kreekak with State Farm, Elway Power Sports of Lincoln. We got Action Plumbing, Heating, AC, and Electrical, Tavern 180, and Tanner's. Thank you all so much for all of your support. Again, we hope to do a pregame and postgame before Nebraska's bowl game. We await the destination. But for tonight, Nebraska falls final score of 13-10 on the road to the Iowa Hawkeyes. For Chancellor, for Jay, for everyone on pregame, I'm Austin Norman. We'll talk to you soon.
Tanner's Bar and Grill is the best place in Lincoln for a casual get-together, best place to watch a game, and the best for pre- and post-game. Catch college and NFL football as well as the